Hi, everybody. I'm Chris from National Parents Organization, and tonight we have a really special treat. We have the team here behind Guys Night. It's a feature film that's currently being made, and they are here to talk about it. And I'm really excited about this one. We're going to introduce Niko first. And Niko, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, well, thank you. First off, yeah, thanks to the National Parents Organization for having all of us and supporting Guys Night. My name is Niko Vitacco. I'm the writer, producer, and actor. The story is inspired by my real childhood growing up in hometown Illinois in the mid 1980s. And yes, if you're asking yourself, is hometown a real place? It is definitely a real place. My dad raised me and my two brothers after our mom left, and he came up with this weekly tradition called Guys Nights, where we'd each rent a VHS tape, grab our favorite chips and pop, and stay up late, and then just be together. It was mainly his way of keeping all of us connected during a really pretty difficult time in our lives.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the tradition that you've got there, and I really can't wait to see this film to see what sort of traditions came out because in the trailer it's really just described as a traumedy. So
Yeah.
I would imagine that there's a lot of ups and downs within this, and some good entertainment, and maybe also some heartbreak.
Definitely. It's all there. Yeah. You hit on the head. It is a coming of age dramedy. It's about resilience, fatherhood, and just the love a family goes through, especially during the toughest seasons.
Well, let's introduce the rest of the team. Who else do we have with us today?
I'm Dave Eichhorn. I live in Los Angeles and have been in the movie business for about 37 years. I am the director and editor of Guys Night. Looking forward to making this film. I've worked with, I know Niko and Andrew both from previous films that I've worked with them on. Um, and Niko wrote this script several years ago, and I wrote it and I read it, I should say, and thought, okay, you've got to turn this story of your life into a movie. And so we talked, and it was like, okay, we're gonna do it. And was that in 2021? I was trying to remember, 2021 or
I think so. Yeah, early
2022. I always
2021.
forget. So it's been a while that we've been on the road to make this film. Um, had some pitfalls, ups and downs, but we're getting closer and closer to making it, and it is a great story. That's why I'm looking forward to. Deals with subject of divorce, family dynamics. We shoot in 19. The film's going to take place in the year 1985 for the most part, so it has this great element of nostalgia. So yeah, it's an exciting project.
Yeah, and I will jump in as well. Andrew Baird. I am producing alongside Niko and Dave here. And yeah, similar. I've known these jokers for a little while now, and I think I can't remember exactly when, but yeah, shortly after Dave came on and reading it and kind of reached out to me after I just done a project with them. He's like, "Hey, I got a great project. You need to read it and see your thoughts." And similar, read it and was just kind of like, "Oh wow, this is a great film, a great story, very heartfelt, and deals with some really heavy topics in a way that just is definitely screen worthy and would make a very big impact on the audience that we want to connect with." So was pretty much hooked when I read it, and then got to know Niko more. And then once we got to hometown itself to do a little bit of work there and met where everyone we're going to be shooting with, it was just like, oh yeah, this is such an amazing team, an amazing community, and just going to end up being a really good product. And can't wait to make it with these guys.
Well, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. And, one thing I wanted to ask you guys is, there's not a lot of movies out there that really, pull at the heartstrings and show a family in this manner. Usually, it's a mom and a dad, but, the number of stories that get put out there around dads and families, are kind of limited. So that must be pretty special to work on. What's your thoughts around that, and how has that, affected how you're going to shoot this, and how you're going to get that story out?
Ooh, well, yeah, you hit it kind of on the head there. Our film, it definitely focuses on a custodial father, which is less common in media. And I think it challenges the stereotypes about what divorced dads look like. while our story doesn't necessarily center on legal battles, it touches on the emotional realities of separation, like how both parents are essential, how the absence of one can create deep wounds. I think it's just a reminder that shared parenting is not just about legal agreements, but it's about a child's emotional foundation. And like Dave had said too, it's super nostalgic. I mean, it's set in the 80s, but it's also super grounded and it's emotional and it's real. We see the joy, the conflict, and the eventual healing between a father and his kids. If I were to give a comparison, the tone of our film is cinematic yet intimate. It's influenced by films like Stand By Me, The Tender Bar, Parenthood, and even Boyhood.
Yeah, all great films. And as far as producing something like this, were there any particular challenges? Because this isn't a sort of a mainstream story, if you will.
I
Yeah,
mean, definitely challenges along the way with any independent film, I'd say. But this one, I mean, just the fact that it's set in 1985 adds a lot of hurdles. Because period pieces are definitely not easy to produce. They're fun and exciting, and luckily, again, hometown. Once we got there, realized that there's still a bunch of it's kind of like still set in the 80s in a way. So we got there, it makes sense. The vibe is perfect for it, and everyone's bringing out old decorations from the 80s that they're like, oh, please use this. This can go perfect. So the community just come together for the film in a great way. But yeah, just outside of that too, I mean, again, there's ups and downs to any films, and this one is no stranger to any of that in terms of bringing actors on and finding financing and distribution. So it's all a puzzle that needs to be put together. And luckily, those pieces are coming together quite nicely. I
Yeah.
don't, Nick, I don't know how far I want to go into for some of the financing of it all and things like that, where we stand currently. But at one point we were greenlit, ready to go. And then the writer strikes happened, and no, sorry, the actor strike, excuse me. And unfortunately, that led to some tax incentives in Chicago going on, where our financier had to back out. So we now have all our elements in place. It's just back to finding the proper financing partner for it.
And one of the beauties of being an indie film as opposed to a big studio film is the fact that we're a little bit of a smaller production, and we are, as Andrew said, filming in the actual town where Niko grew up. Niko will be playing his father in this film, and there are three little boys, and none of the casting's been done yet because we're not at that stage. But although Niko, I think you're in. Uh, but the beauty of it is we've taken a couple trips to the town of hometown, which is like 20 minutes outside of Chicago, and it's incredible. The town can't wait for the film to be shot there, of course, because everybody wants to be in the movies and be a part of the movies, and that's a big help for us. And that really does help with budget and just logistics and everything. When people say, "Hey, use my house," because a lot of times these locations really have to be scouted, and there's huge costs and this and that, and while there's still costs, it's advantageous that people are eager to get in the movie, and extras are just kind of built in because we'll use a lot of the locals and things like that. And like Andrew said, people are donating props, and everybody wants to be a part of the movie, and that outpouring has been beautiful. It's been really nice.
yeah. Just to kind of piggyback off of what both Dave and Andrew said, I think like many indie films, the biggest thing is raising funds has been probably one of our biggest hurdles, especially like Andrew mentioned during those industry strikes, which delayed our timeline and losing our initial funding as well. But I wanted to add that I kind of feel like the emotional challenge has been just as real too. We're telling a story that's deeply personal while doing it justice for other families who've been through similar experiences. So we want to be able to do this story justice for everyone. And like David mentioned too, I'm playing the character that's based off of my father. So I had to personally separate myself too. And I have to approach this from that perspective, not as the child who was affected by divorce, but from the father who went through this and not to give so much away, but the father story. And to just also add on to the support that we're getting from hometown, like these guys said, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, this town is something else. It's so unique. I always call it, it's a small town right outside of a big city. And that's exactly what it is. And everyone comes together and they're so supportive of our film and our story and kind of putting the town on the map as well. It doesn't hurt that I'm good friends with the mayor and the police chief is married to a girl I went to grammar school with. My best friend has repairs everyone's roof in town. So we have a lot of great connections, some great support, and we even have a little bit of which we'll get into later when we're talking about where we are with the project. But aside from casting, thank you, Dave, for casting me in the film. But we also have some very strong interest from Tony Danza to play the grandfather in the film, which is my character's father. And that's just such a pivotal role because that grandfather is just a Italian American, larger than life man who is technically the voice of reason throughout all this. So he kind of is the rock of the family and helps the dad kind of see it from a different perspective. So it's really cool. We're really excited.
Yeah, he's sometimes the family falls into chaos as families do, and he's the rock of Gibraltar that just sort of grounds everything. So it's a really nice dynamic.
Yeah, one of the things you talked about in the trailer was, balance and love, loss, and acceptance. And I don't want you to give too much of the story away, but I can imagine that there's a lot of ups and downs within all of that.
Yeah, it goes through the whole journey. We come into the movie when there's a inevitable divorce happening. It's really just a slice of life in the year of this family, and they're one of their most tumultuous years. And we follow through that entire year, all the seasons and everything. And yeah, there's laughter, tears, alienation, redemption, um, good family drama.
Yeah. No, I
And
completely agree. And it is one of those where we just experience everything from this year in the life of the family going through this divorce and what they experience and the heartache, the hardships, the uncertainties, the emotions, just this big roller coaster of a year. And it really touches on, I think, universal themes for people. While it is a specific story and a personal story, it's very universal. I think for me personally, Guys Night isn't just a movie. I feel like it's a platform for conversation and change. And I think that through partnerships with NPO and others, we want to use screenings, community events, and panel discussions to start deeper conversations about fatherhood, about custody, and emotional health. Um, I truly feel like it's about shifting the narrative so fathers and children of divorce see themselves represented with dignity and compassion. So that's our hope and our ultimate goal for the film outside of the screen as well.
Yeah, and it's such an important conversation to have, and hopefully, you'll be able to to have those events because you really need something to rally people around, and this could be a great avenue for that. And with it being set in 1985, a lot has changed in the world since then. Especially around how our society thinks about families and traditional roles of various people within the family. And how do you think that part's going to affect the conversation? I know I asked a hard question.
I mean, families they've always, everything's the same. I mean, tech changes and attitudes definitely change. Just environmental things are really different now. I don't know what it's like to be a kid. I wouldn't want to know what it's like to be a kid right now. But it's definitely different. But the core of family dynamics, it's you still need a good, strong. I think we all agree that you need to raise kids. A two parental system is ideal, and everybody bonded together on the same team. And this film explores when that breaks apart. I was a child of divorce, so I saw that happen when I was young, and it stuck together pretty good because we had a good foundation. and so it wasn't that bad. But yeah, this film explores that whole thing, how a family can break apart but yet still come, hang together and do what's right. It's about the kids, the resilience of kids too. You find out that kids are smarter than a lot of people think, and they can get through a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys have any ideas about how things are different now and than they were then?
I mean, I think it is 40 years of a difference, but like Dave said, family dynamics I feel like can be universal over time, and a lot has changed. I mean, there's so much change that plays a big part in how families are and how families are presented to each other in public. There's a lot of difference there, but at its core is this story we're telling about how parents can focus on being present and consistent for their kids, even in the smallest ways.
That's right.
Um, I think that it's a big lesson that can be learned is to don't underestimate the power of routines, rituals, and moments that show kids that they're safe and loved. And whether that's plays into a family's life in 1985 or 2025, I feel like that will still have a very similar and that could have the same effect and outcome on a child because ultimately that's what it's about is keeping families as together as possible and as close as possible. So I think that that's where we're going to try to relate this nostalgic time in 85 to present day.
Yeah, and I'll just add one more thing too. I mean, obviously echo what Dave and Nico said about family is family, and I think that's just, will transcend generations. But it also dives into a bit that no family's perfect. No family ever will be perfect. Perfection is if you're gonna seek perfection, then it's just gonna be you're never gonna achieve it. But it's not about seeking perfection. It's just about learning how to, be there for your family, for your kids, no matter what's going on. Vice versa too. Kids hopefully from this learn how to be there for their parents as well, and realize that um, their parents are going through a difficult time too. So it's kind of just again learning about how to not being perfect together to in a way that's how you kind of achieve perfection.
yeah. I think a lot of times people forget that parents and kids often have a much different experience in this time of life when a divorce happens, right? And all this changes going on, and depending on how old the kids are, they definitely I think experience it much differently depending on the stage of life that they are. But I love in the trailer how you said that this shows the reality through the dad's eyes, through the parents' eyes, and I'm really excited to see what that is because like I said, I don't think that this kind of story is often told in the media, and it's certainly one that has a lot of room to explore.
Yeah, definitely. I think that that is important to show to tell the story through the dad's eyes in a sense because it isn't common. And single fathers, I feel like don't often get the support that they desire or deserve necessarily as regularly as single mothers or women do, which they're very um, entitled to and deserving of getting. But men in general tend to be very stoic and to not express their feelings as openly as they should. So we want to show that it's okay to be vulnerable, that it's okay to express your emotions, especially it's okay to open up to your children as well. And that while it is scary and there's a lot of uncertainty there, there may be a lot of light at the end of that tunnel. I remember growing up, my dad didn't tell us much. He didn't talk about what happened between him and my mom. And he would always say, you're too young to understand. You'll understand when you get older. I hated that. Like as a kid, I was like, I want to know now because I feel like I internalized that as he's hiding something. And I hated him for what happened between him and my mom but I didn't know the absolute truth behind it. And I'm a child, so he's not going to go into so much depth about it. But I think it wasn't until very much later in life until I wanted to write this film and tell this story because it was my way of dealing with my own family's trauma and divorce and what I went through as a child, and I wanted to explore it and understand it. It was so therapeutic for me. But at that moment, I went to my dad and I said, "Here's what I'm doing, Dad. I have this idea, and I want to write this script, and I want to tell a story and make a movie. I'm old enough now to understand everything, so let's talk." And he opened up. I mean, he was an open book. My dad has changed a lot over the years on how he initially was when him and my mom got divorced, but such a cool experience to see, and I feel like people will be able to, whether they're going through a divorce on their own right now or whether they grew up in a divorced family, we want this. I'm hoping that this film, this story will help them heal and kind of be a way to kind of look in the mirror and see a reflection of their own lives or situations or anything. So there's a lot. We have a lot to unpack here, so it's exciting. We want to get it all out.
I remember when I first learned that or realized that my parents they don't know everything, and they're learning as they go. They make it up as they go along too. There's no owner's manual for life for anybody.
Yeah.
And it was a big revelation. And so, yeah, Nico's dad in his 30s and 40s, he was quiet and men with their their egos and communication is a big thing in this film. We do just explore that because that's important. And like you said, you don't want a small child, you don't want to give too much, but they do need to know what's going on because just hiding things from kids is not good. That's distrust, and then yeah, but yeah, it's interesting because parents are people too, and they're trying to figure it out. And usually by the time they're 50s, 60s, 70s, they're starting to get it together. And I like how you said now your dad he's much more open and he has less to hide, and he realizes that it's not that precious. Share it.
Yeah, I mean the expectation of men over the last 40 years has changed a bunch too, right? I mean now it's much more acceptable to be open and vulnerable, right? Where back in 1985 it wasn't so much, right? So I think that's fantastic that you got to sit down with your dad and have those conversations and sort of fill in those pieces of the puzzle. That must have been it must have really helped you kind of close a chapter there, if you will. Personally, I think that's amazing. I wanted to ask, with everything that goes on, in a family, you must have had to pick and choose what to put in the film and how to build the story arc, right? Because otherwise you'd probably end up with a film that's 30 hours long, How did you choose what the arc was going to be and what the most important points were?
Well, that was difficult. Like you said, this film had potential to be a very long film. You know, to be honest, this story is based off of my family life, based off a true story. It's really a compilation of probably about 10 years of things that happened. But I wanted to tell it in a year in the life of this family. So it's a compilation of different things happening over the course of 10 years throughout my family's divorce. So deciding what to put in there and what would be like the arc and the best way to approach it and tell it was tough. And I played with a lot. And I mean, speaking with Dave and reading it and going through notes and ideas and getting feedback, even outside of the two of us, getting feedback from other professionals and colleagues that we know and trust and worked with who've given us notes to go off of. I think that's what helped shape the arc of the character and the story. And I would love to be able to put a ton of things in the film. And I still think, daily where I'm like, is there a way I can get this part in there? Just because to me, it means so much, but I'm like, hang on, separate yourself emotionally from this, approach it as the producer and know what's the most important stuff, what's going to resonate with people universally. We can have a behind the scenes or like a separate part to add extra stuff if we want to afterwards. But there was just a lot of, like Dave said, a lot of communication, and I think a lot of I had to let my guard down and release control and know that this is a collaborative process and trust that everyone else's input and suggestions and knowledge was worth it and is very important. And it just showed me how much those people care about this story and about this project and this film too, and how much support that they bring to the table. So that helped shape this whole story.
You talked a little bit about community, and we all know that it takes more than one parent, and it takes a really a village to raise a child, as the saying goes. But talk to me a little bit about the community, because Chicago is such a unique place, and I think it's one of the areas of the country that seems is particularly family focused, at least in popular culture, right? So tell me a little bit about how the community is going to be involved, and how that influences the film.
Well, yeah, like Andrew said, the community of Hometown is everyone's coming on board to be involved. I mean, there are people who are still living there who grew up with me, and there are people who are still living there who watched me grow up and watched my dad raise me and my brothers. I always say that the city of Hometown is like a character itself in this film. My brothers and I, we were raised by our dad and with the help of our grandparents as well. But we were also raised by the community as well, whether that was the priest in the church, the police chief, whenever we would get into trouble, neighbors, when we would get into trouble, we were kids. There were just so many things that everyone would look out for each other. And to this day, Hometown is still like that. I mean, it has its struggles here and there, trying to stay in certain times. Hometown was always looked at as like, it was always compared to the town of Mayberry. And as glorious as, as ideal as that would sound, where, as years go on, crime rates go up and everything happens and people move on. But the community in Hometown right now is really doing their best to bring back that essence of like family involvement and community. But they're just all coming together to, like Andrew mentioned, to donate a lot of props that are set in the 80s. We have a gentleman who runs a car club out there at the VFW in Hometown, and he got all these car enthusiasts together who have all these like awesome late 70s, early 80s cars. And we have probably about 20 or so, I feel like, probably more at this rate, who've committed to letting us use those in placement for parked on the street or driving by. Just very background stuff, but that will help us tell this story in that time period. So they're just so welcoming, and they're so supportive of being a part of this. And they're all fathers, mothers, sons, daughters. And the city of Hometown their motto is where a house is a home. So if that tells you anything, it means they're about family and community and making your house a home, which I feel like is what everyone tries to do in their life. You want to make your house a home, no matter what size family you have or don't have.
That's awesome. I was going to ask you about the cars and all the period pieces that making a period piece is really can be difficult, right? Because you have to turn 2025 back 40 years. And I was going to ask you about that. So that's amazing that they have all those cars that you can use. And I would imagine, things like the retro T-shirts and, blue jean styles have changed and all that kind of stuff. So I imagine all that's going to be a little bit challenging to come up with. But it sounds like you've really got the community behind you.
Yeah, we do. And we not only just the city of Hometown, but the Chicago filmmaking community, too, has really come together and is behind us. We have an incredible team lined up. People who are, like Andrew mentioned, we were set to go into production a couple years ago, but we keep in touch with them, and they're still on board. And they're still ready. Once we're greenlit and ready to go, they want to be a part of this project. Everyone from our costume designer, who is incredible at period costumes. She showed us this what do you call it? Like a vision board, in a sense, of what she wanted to bring for each of the characters, and I was like blown away by it. We have this one scene in the film where the kids are playing, they're at a t-ball game, and they're at the local baseball field, which is still very like 80s kind of feeling set. It's really cool. You got the concession stand there. I have a buddy who used to make old baseball uniforms, who's willing to dig out what he has, or use his sources to recreate those and get kids t-ball uniforms that say hometown, or like on the hats will say city of hometown, whatever, the hometown heroes, whatever the team name is. But yeah, filmmakers, our makeup artist, who is going to be a huge with transitioning those looks and that vibe. There's just a lot of collaborative efforts and support in the city of Chicago, the filmmaking community, the city of hometown, friends and family, that is all coming together just for our project. And it's really, really exciting and heartwarming too.
Well, that's fantastic. You guys mentioned funding a little bit. How's that going? And how has the conversation around, parents and families been, within the funding conversation?
I mean, I definitely think that's one of the strong points that attract potential financiers is the family aspect of it, the parental aspect, and again, back to the set in the 1980s, that nostalgic piece that people look back and remember it fondly. And so just kind of leading to where we are now for kind of where we stand. Uh, in terms of financing, yeah, we were fortunate enough to be greenlit to go, have the full budget, and then again, unfortunately, circumstances happened, external forces outside of our control. Luckily, we didn't lose any of our core elements outside of the financing, so we still have this very, very solid package put together for when we are ready to eventually put this thing together. It'll be move much quicker than the typical pre-production process for an indie film. But yeah, we're just back in the stages of raising our initial equity funding that will then trigger the rest of our debt financing to put this thing to greenlight this project.
Fantastic. And,
Yeah.
how far do you think you are that from when you're going to start shooting, and then how long will it take?
Well, we're in a late development stage, still fundraising, as Andrew mentioned. We joined up with a 501(c)(3) called Independent Film Alliance Chicago, which means we're allowed to accept donations through their organization, which are fully tax deductible. They're 100% tax deductible, which is incredible for us. As Andrew mentioned, our goal is to raise 25% of our budget in donations to unlock the rest of our financing through a debt loan to greenlight production. We're ambitiously aiming for this fall. I know the clock is ticking, but I'm a very ambitious. I feel like there's still opportunity to get there. But otherwise, if it doesn't happen, we are able to push to the spring. Some of the challenges are that because it is a year in the life of this family, we have to show some different seasons. So fall and spring would be the two ideal times. I feel like I don't know which one necessarily. Maybe fall, because we can still fake summer and then show signs of winter as well. And same with the spring, we can do both of those. Because the great thing about shooting in Chicago is it could be March and a snowstorm will be coming in that day, and the following day it's like 50 degrees out and looks like it's like a hot summer day on the street. So that's really cool. But yeah, I feel like that our where we are now with trying to raise funds, we're accepting donations through this fiscal sponsorship, and every little bit helps, whether that's donating directly, whether that's sharing our campaign with your network, or simply starting a conversation about the film. People can watch our short pitch video, which gives a full inside look to Guys Night. And they can donate at a website called givebutter.com/guys night, which may be in the notes here. But we're also at a place where we're also openly talking to potential investors who want to be a part of the project in a bigger way. We have an investor opportunity package with details on budget, different equity options, potential ROI, and even ways on how investment can be paired with the tax-deductible contributions. So we just also ask that if anyone's interested in investing, they can reach us at our email on our website, which is guysnightmovie.com. The email is info@guysnightmovie. And we'll be happy to share and explore more then. So yeah, different avenues, different routes, through the fiscal sponsorship, through investors. So we're trying to reach organizations, individuals, communities, anybody we can help to bring on board who will resonate with this story and help us share this project. Because what we've come to realize is that everyone we've spoken to knows that it is such a meaningful project and feels that it should get out there. And so we're just trying to make that happen.
And to answer your question about how long it would take, well, basically, once we get greenlit and get started, approximately 20 days of actual shooting and 4 to 5 months of post-production and packaging it up. So, yeah, less than a year. Just a little more than, 3/4 of a year or so.
And I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt you.
no, that's all I want to say.
No, I was just going to say too, to top it off too. So we already have distribution secured as well, which is kind of unheard of too, securing distribution before the film's even out there. But this distribution company came on board because they love the project. They want to get it out there and push it. So our ultimate goal is to, once the film is shot, we go through the 4 to 5 months of post production, or sorry, not that, however long it was, to aim for film festivals, those top film festivals. So Sundance, Tribeca, Telluride, Chicago International Film Festival. We feel that it's worthy of those higher end festivals. I mean, we have that story there, and we feel that our film will be packaged and ready and worthy to go there. And depending on how we do at festivals, our distributor will, we have plans to do a limited theatrical release. We have plans to be placed on streaming platforms like Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, depending on which deals we make and which routes we go to. And then, like I had mentioned before, we want this to go beyond that and be used as a tool in screenings with organizations or communities that really work on keeping family and bringing family together, or single fatherhood, or even men's mental health. So we have a lot lined up on where this film will go afterwards, and I feel like we're headed in a really good direction with it.
Well, I certainly can't wait to see it when it comes out. Is there anything else you guys wanted to chat about before we wrap this up?
I just think that anyone who thinks it's a good idea or finds that subject matter interesting, that they'll visit that Give Butter site and see how they can help us make this film, because we really are relying a lot on people, not only investors, but people donating and getting that 100% tax deduction and being a part of getting a movie made.
Yeah, that's very exciting, and we'll put all the links to the Guys Night website and to the donation site. We'll put those in the description of the video, so if you want to get involved, you can go there and click on the links. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on, and if you want, we'll just go around and you can tell us how we can get in touch with you, or where we can see your stuff if you have something other than the Guys Night website.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to finish off too and just say that I feel like at its heart, Guys Night is about love, and it's not perfection, which I feel like people struggle with too. So it's about the ways we show up for each other in the hardest moments. I truly feel like stories like one we're going to tell can change the way we see fathers and families and all the roles we all play in raising the next generation. So I would love for everyone watching to be a part of that change by helping us bring the story to life. And like Dave had mentioned, to visit that givebutter.com site /guys nights again. But yeah, you can get in touch with us through info at guys night. Personal projects. We each have our own personal projects going on as well. I'm currently in early stages of developing an animated short that I'm working on. About I love dogs so much, so it's about I'm a big pit bull advocate, bully breed advocate. So I have a story behind that, which Dave's going to be helping me on too with our production company.
Awesome. And yeah,
Excellent.
Chris, I just wanted to, oh, sorry, Dave, after you.
Oh, I can be reached at postinthewoods.com is basically my website, my editing business and everything about me, and I'm on IMDb, Dave Eichhorn.
Awesome. And yeah, Chris, just want to say thanks again for taking the time and bringing us on and kind of helping us spread the message and word of Guys Night. And we're just thankful for you and your organizations like NPO that put out really solid messages out there too. And like Niko and Dave said, we all have kind of other projects going on. So I actually have two little indie films I've done here in Colorado that are in post-production right now as well. So hopefully those will be wrapped up this year and hitting festivals next year too.
Well, fantastic, and thank you guys all for coming on. And again, we'll have all the links in the description of the video below. And please do get involved. Go donate if you can. Watch the trailer. It's or watch the. It's not a trailer, right? It's an introductory video about the movie and the concept. And really can't wait for this one to come out. I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you guys for taking the time to come on tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris, and thanks to NPO for having us on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris.